626 AD, 4520 AM. The Avars attack Constantinople, seat of the Eastern Roman Empire, but are unable to breach its walls, first built by Theodosius in 413 AD and rebuilt in 447 after an earthquake. This was 3552 months, 296 years, after Constantine made Byzantium, Constantinople, the seat of the Roman Empire. 3552 is 1776 plus 1776 months. This was exactly 1104 years after 479 BC, when the Greeks defeated the invading Persians, won the end of empire. 628 AD, 4522 AM. Muhammad, prophet of Allah and torch of Islam, wrote letters to all the known kings of the world. Messengers took his letters to all the courts and kings of the Middle East, Northern Africa, the Near East to Persia and Northern India, Asia Minor and Palestine. The letter called upon all kings of the earth to acknowledge Allah as the one true God and Muhammad his prophet. 1. A short history of the world. 630 AD, 4524 AM. The Greeks under Heraclius recovered Jerusalem from the Persians. This was exactly 300 years after Byzantium of the Greeks became the capital of the Roman Empire in 330 AD. The taking back of Jerusalem was 1244 years after 615 BC, when the Persians and Medes attacked Assyria with the Cimmerians, Israelites formerly of Samaria. This was 960 years after Alexander of Macedon became the king of Persia in 331 BC. 1. History in quotations. 632 AD, 4526 AM. Muhammad died, prophet of Islam. The epithet of prophet was not in the Israelite sense in that Muhammad predicted the future, for he did not. Unlike Old Testament prophets, Muhammad was a teacher and reformer, not a seer. The Arabs, under the banner of Islam, began attacking the Middle East and making incursions into Europe. 633 AD, 4527 AM. Throughout Europe, news had spread how the Jews dealt treacherously with the Christians who defended Jerusalem against the Persians. King Dagobert of the Merovingian dynasty gave the Jewish element in his kingdom the choice to either convert to Christianity or go into exile. This was the 600th year after the crucifixion event in 33 AD, one the god kings of Europe. 634 AD, 4528 AM. The Arabs defeat the Emperor Heraclius's army of Byzantium in the Battle of Yarmouk, which is quickly followed by Arabic invasions of Syria, Damascus, Palmyra, Antioch, and Jerusalem again. 1. The decline of the West, a short history of the world. 637 AD, 4531 AM. Islamic armies conquer Damascus and Ctesiphon and then turn east to Persia. General Rustam of Persia meets the Arabic army with war elephants, and for 3 days the armies clash at Kadesa until the Persians are routed. The Arabs eventually push all the way to eastern Turkestan until they even meet the Chinese. 1. The decline of the West. 2. A short history of the world. 638 AD, 4532 AM. In this year the Arabic army under Caliph Omar attacked Jerusalem, and the city surrendered. The Caliphate were those Islamic leaders seen as successors of Muhammad. This year was 1400 years after the destruction of Jerusalem in 763 BC by earthquake, and 1400 years before the year 2038 AD, when a Muslim invasion will attack Jerusalem. This was 700 years after 63 BC, when Rome annexed Jerusalem and Judea. 1. Wars that changed the world. 641 AD, 4535 AM. An Islamic army under Caliph Omar invades Egypt. The Saracens are established in Alexandria and Egypt. By this time the famous Library of Alexandria had been sacked so many times by Christians and Romans that most of the valuable books were already scattered throughout the Mediterranean and Europe. History books are full of how Omar ordered the destruction of the Alexandrian library, and for this reason many priceless books were forever lost. But the truth is that the books were already censored and burned by the decree of bishops, Roman emperors and popes. Further, the story of Omar burning the treasured books was non-existent for 500 years. and did not surface until mentioned in the 13th century by a Christian bishop named Abulfaragius of Guba. The Muslims did indeed burn many Christian texts, many times at the promptings of Jewish antagonists, but the destruction of Christian texts was actually caused by the Roman Catholic agents in their centuries-long campaign to censor any writings in opposition of their own. This invasion of Egypt was exactly 1320 years, or 7920 plus 7920 months, after 680 BC, when King Esarhaddon of Assyria invaded Egypt and took Thebes. In this year too a Muslim army invades northern India. 1. The decline of the West. 2. Our sun god. 644 AD, 4538 AM. The famous Dome of the Rock is built on Temple Mount in Jerusalem, a huge Muslim mosque. This was exactly 1600 years after the Israelites under King Jedediah, Solomon, assembled at the dedication ceremony for the temple in Jerusalem in 957 BC. The Arabs were popularly regarded as children of Abraham, as were the Israelites, and this year was precisely 2520 years after the institution of the Abrahamic covenant in 1877 BC. 645 AD, 4539 AM. The Greek Christians of Byzantium assembled a massive fleet and invaded Egypt, taking back the city of Alexandria from the Saracens. Interestingly, the Egyptian Sothic cycle was 1461 years, and this was 1461 years to the end of the prophetic timeline of 6,000 years that ends in 2106 AD. 647 AD, 4541 AM. The Arabic Muslim army conquers the city of Carthage. This amazingly was the 792nd year after 146 BC when the Romans conquered Carthage. 1. The decline of the West. 652 AD, 4546 AM. The canonical text of the Quran, the holy scriptures of Islam, is fixed by the Caliph Uthman, who destroyed all the other versions and documents attributed to Muhammad. The Quran known today is the product of extreme censorship. 1. The discoverers, Borstin. 660 AD, 4554 AM. Planet Phoenix passes through the inner solar system, completing its 138-year orbit. This is the height of the Dark Ages, and literacy is at an all-time low. Records are not kept, and those that were made at this period largely did not survive. This year is 184 years after the fall of Rome, or 22 or 8 months, 552 times 4.